So here we are on the Cape Dory 31 Danusia, and let's take a look at this hull before I do any work to it. I've got the decks taped off, covered in plastic, ready to start removing this paint. This is paint. At some point, this was painted over the original gel coat. It's been quite a while. This owner's owned the boat for 10 years, and it was done quite a while before then. When the boat was in my shop last, 10 years ago, this paint was in much better condition, and we didn't do anything to it at the time. But it is definitely paint. Wasn't immediately clear that it is, but it is. And it's in bad enough shape now that I'm just going to take it down to gel coat again. There's a lot of spots like this right here where it's very oxidized. It's not going to show up well on camera, but you can see that sort of dark blobby stain right through here. And the paint there is very crazed. It's not failing or loose or anything like that, but it's not in great shape. It's not going to make a good substrate. So I'm just going to take this all off. Would have been nice if I could have just lightly sanded and put primer over this, and maybe I could, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. I know the boot top has to come off because I painted that, and it's just one part paint. So that would have to come off anyway. I'll sand this cove stripe off. It's just vinyl. I find it easier to just sand it off. But there's virtually no gloss left on this hull. It's in good shape. I mean, there's no damage or very few dings or that sort of thing. It's just very oxidized, chalky, and like I said, these dark areas is where it's crazed, and up close you can see it, and that's just dirt and mildew and such that's in the crazing. Another reason to just take this off. Gotta step over my staging here, pardon me. So we'll just sand this back to gel coat and start over. Boot top will come off. I mean, there's a few dings here and there, and that's inevitable, but you know, this hull's in good shape. It's not going to need a lot of work once I take the paint off. And that's good news. But to do the paint system right, I want to start with a substrate I can count on, and that isn't this paint. Much as I wish it was, I prefer to save the work, but so it goes. Here's another ugly spot of that crazing. Really looks quite terrible right now. So we'll take care of all of that. You can see under the counter here, there's actually some shine left because that's not exposed to the sun. And that's in much better shape. We'll have to mask over those through hulls. On the transom here, you can see a couple of pieces of evidence of why I know it's painted, among other reasons. But right here, this actually happened when I pulled the old vinyl name off 10 years ago to replace it with this one. And that's the paint coming off right there. Port side is basically the same trouble spots. This area back here, this is one of the most vertical spots on the hull, so it gets a lot of sun. And it's just that sort of crazing. So off comes the paint. The side's in decent shape too, no issues here, other than the crazing, obviously. We're going to paint it the same basic color scheme. Cove stripe's going to be different. I like the gold leaf, but it's not up to me. So we're going to replace it with something similar to the boot top color, and that'll look good too. You can see I didn't worry when I got these little varnish strips because I knew I'd be sanding this off. Ordinarily I would have paid more attention to that when I did the bright work. But this is just sort of rough feeling and lightly crazed. So we'll take all the paint off. Start over. So there you have it. There's the before stage of this. We'll get to work sanding it off. Apparently it's some crazy moment of weakness that I don't even remember. I agreed with the owner that I would repaint the bottom for him. And because it's dirty with sea growth, it means I'm going to have to lightly sand it to clean that up. So I'm going to do that. It's just going to be enough sanding to get the growth off. It's just a layer of slime from a season. It's no big deal. I kind of thought I was done doing bottoms, but this won't be bad. It's just a quickie. It's not stripping or anything like that. I wouldn't strip it. I don't do that anymore. At some point you get too old and wise to do these silly things. But I'll give this a light sanding, clean it up, and then much later in the project I'll paint it up again. It's in good shape. It just is dirty because he didn't have a chance to power wash the boat, or to get it power washed because the boat was coming up here right after it got hauled out last fall. So this needs to be cleaned up. Just for the sake of posterity, here's the starboard side as well. Really not much to talk about here on the bottom. Just needs to be sanded. You'll see it once it's done. It'll look a lot better. And we'll scrape the growth off these metal items. So to make sure the whole thing's covered here on video, here's the starboard side. It's a bottom.